Hello. I would like to make a plea to the FBI or any legal agency above local law enforcement to deal with my mother and father and other relatives that have stolen an inheritance that was left me many years ago. Now that I have found out, my parents have tried to unalive me. They are hell-bent on having me lose my life. They do not care. I'm hoping that eventually they do get caught because it's so apparently obvious, but my father knows people in high places. They have been some of the cruelest people and the cruelest parents that I have ever known. And I worked in social work for years and met many challenged parents. They are absolutely rotten. My mother used to make believe she was unalive when I was a little boy and would simulate conversations on the telephone and tell me the bad mothers were coming while my younger brother, 14 months younger, was screaming bloody murder. So at 5.5, 6, I was left trying to comfort him and comfort myself. I walked myself to kindergarten before I was 5. I didn't turn 5 until November of 1968, and I started kindergarten in September of 1968. I would leave and get to kindergarten. I had the afternoon class. Mrs. Grossman, I loved Mrs. Grossman. She was the nicest lady. In fact, interestingly enough, I'm going to get a little teary-eyed, but I'm not. It was 3 Jewish women, Mrs. Goldfarb, Mrs. Fishberg, and Mrs. Grossman, who were wonderful women who I wished were my mother. And when my mother was taken away from a supposed nervous breakdown and postpartum depression, I was left to go to kindergarten my first day, and my grandmother and my aunt walked me to school. And in New York City or Queens, those schools are pretty ominous looking. They almost look like jails, and they're loud. And I was a sensitive little boy. And my grandmother and my Aunt Marianne walked me to school, and I was a nervous wreck because I wanted to know where my mother was. And then my father had to raise 4 kids while my mother was in some hospital somewhere. And so we had a maid named Lucille. And she was a black lady. And I loved her so much. I wanted her to be my mother. Miss Lucille sang songs to me. She made me bacon and eggs for breakfast. And she called me Sugar. And I wanted Lucille to be my mother, which is why to this day I have an affinity for women of color, for what they did. And I am asking the police, the higher ups, to please finish their investigation with this family. I'm going to be 63, and I want to live some of my life, and I'd like some of that inheritance to do good things rather than destroy people and go to cults and do weird sex stuff. They molested me when I was younger. They abused me physically, beat me with vacuum cleaner cords. And if I was a child today, I would have got on that phone and called 1-800-96-ABUSE in Florida, and I would have gotten arrested by the age of 8. I can't stomach the evil of these people and the unfairness. And I am writing a book right now, and I have poetry about me going to kindergarten, and my mother wasn't even around. So I learned how to go to kindergarten before I knew how to tell time. So there was a clown named Bozo. It's kind of funny. And I used to watch the Bozo show. And then when the Bozo show was over, that gave me 4 minutes just to walk up the street to PS 159 in Bayside, Queens. But there was a time change. And I remember walking to school, and New York City and Queens, it has a rhythm. Same cars go by, same people. And I was lost. I went out in the street and I just cried and I cried and I cried. I tried to talk to my evil son of a bitch father about this about a year ago. And he said, I don't want to hear about this child abuse. I'm so tired of hearing about it. My father hired an informant who fortunately took a liking to me because this informant's daughter had lost her life due to a substance addiction, and I thought he was my friend, and I befriended him. I come to find out that my father hired him. But I remember calling my father and my father saying, you're so gullible. My father is one of the most evil people in my mother. So I'm asking if there's an investigation to please hurry it up, because I'm anxious. I'm going to be 63 and I want to begin my life and use that inheritance money for good instead of using it to manipulate people. Mom and Dad, you are some of the sickest people in the world, and God is going to cut you down. Remember that.